Okay, today I am talking with Chris Downs. And Chris Downs is a rather interesting character. I first saw him in a book, which I'm going to put a link for a PDF called Leap into Your New Life, or something like that. I'll have to go back and look and see. It's actually from a outfit called Food for Wealth. And it had a chapter on Chris, and from that chapter, I determined that Chris was interesting enough character that I wanted to talk to him, and I figured that he would be interesting for you folks at all. So I'm introducing Chris Downs. Chris is currently living in Colorado, and he's done a number of interesting things, like getting off the grid. Um, and he's kind of, well, I would say he was kind of like me in prepping, except that I think he's way ahead of me. So we'll talk about some of those as well. Um, let's start off with some questions here. Uh, Basically, I'd like to get you to fill us in on how you arrived what you are. We'll just a brief overview, and we'll go into some more depth.
Okay, great. Well, I got here through accident, literally. I was in the Navy on submarines. I grew up on a farm, worked with a veterinarian in high school. When I got out of the service, I started a grocery store, worked too many hours, got my pilot's license, mechanic's license, and then I crushed my back, crushed my spine, had a heart attack, planned my funeral with my wife while waiting for a heart transplant, and decided to live. One of the things about living was having good nutrition, getting rid of stress. So I started growing our own organic food. I learned about minerals, I got healthy, and so I had no money, no land, but I wanted to get back into farming. And just by asking that, people came around. And since of all the skills I had, I ended up here. Found someone that wanted to start a farm, asked me if I'd help, and here I am. 40 acres on a farm at 8,800 feet, healthy, off the grid completely, and enjoying each and every day.
Okay. Now the thing that I saw that led me to you was called hisfarm.org. And
Yes.
what is your association with HIS Farm?
Okay, I call it hisfarm.org, and it's a business that I started. I started it so when I died, my wife would have an income after I was burned up and my ashes were spread. But I enjoy helping people. I enjoy being debt free and self sufficient. I wanted to grow healthy food and get back to what I enjoyed when I was in high school, the life of living on a farm and uh, growing our own food, enjoying helping people and animals.
Okay, so his
So,
farm is your business.
correct.
Ah.
Yes.
Now you had told me that you are off the grid, and I'd like to explore that a little bit more in depth. I mean, one thing, for instance, we're talking on Skype right now, and isn't Skype part of the grid?
Skype is a internet service. We have satellite internet. Uh, we do not have phone service available. There is not even electricity made available to us or a landline made available to us. We tried different phone companies that had uh, wireless internet and wireless phone service. We weren't able to get a good connection because of exactly where we're at. So we came up with a company called Exceed, and now we can do it via uh, satellite. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm talking to you now.
Okay. So being off the grid basically means that you're generating your own electricity and
Yeah.
providing your own heat and air conditioning. I guess you won't really need much air conditioning at 8,000 feet in Colorado.
No, no. Uh,
Now
yeah,
you mentioned,
exactly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there is a little bit of a lag there with the satellite internet, the latency kind of gets in the way of an interview a little bit. But
Okay.
any rate, so we know what off the grid, how you're off the grid. So you generate your own electricity, you heat and you take care of your own shelter needs, and you're completely off except for that link to the real world on your satellite. Now you mentioned that you had written some books, and you sent me some of them.
Mhm.
I had a chance to go through the one where you had that you did for growing heirloom tomatoes, which was quite
Mhm.
interesting. Let's see. The other one was permaculture. You were talking about permaculture. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on permaculture.
Permaculture is a permanent culture. It's also a way to think of the planet and our neighbors in this world as nurturing. We nurture our gardens, we get nutrients for our bodies, but when you look at your environment, if you nurture everything that's around you, your food, your water, your air, the animals that live around, because you do have to live with the wild animals, especially where I live also. Uh, if you nurture them, they don't tear everything up, and they learn. You get a mutual respect. You know you're going to have to grow a few more groceries for them because they're going to come on. One of the neighbors says the wild donkeys here expect a tribute, each and every one, and so we do that. It's just fun. They're very friendly, uh, but we also do that with the planet. So it's permanent culture. It's a great way to live. It's self-sufficient. But again, we are all interdependent upon each other and, of course, the air we breathe, water we drink, food we eat, and each other.
So just following the cycle of life on your own little scale.
Yes.
I do have some I do have the copies of the books that you sent. One was a Moby. Are you selling that on Amazon?
Which one was that? Permanent culture or
No,
permaculture
the
principles?
permaculture principles was a PDF that you sent.
Okay.
The
Yes.
tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes book was a Moby.
Yes. I sent you a rough draft of the permaculture principles, but that's for sale on Amazon, as is how to grow great heirloom tomatoes. There's a How I Lowered My Living Expenses by $386 a month is on there. I think it's 99 cents. I couldn't find it in the time frame to send it to you. It's in my archives, but
Okay,
it
well,
just goes over. Yeah.
yeah, go ahead and send me the Amazon links to those, and I'll publish those in the show notes. Um,
Okay. Thank you.
so there's so we talked about some of your books. Um,
Hmm.
you are also what we call a prepper. I've written some opinion pieces about prepping, and one of the things that
Hmm.
I wrote about recently was prepping for things that you think you can survive. But you
Hmm.
basically have made prepping a way of life. I'd like to know what prepping means to you, and what do you do about
Okay.
that? I mean, you're probably a little bit removed from most of the emergency things that might happen to the rest of us.
Yes. I don't have to worry about power outages because we do have our own power plants, right? Solar, wind. Uh, so we take care of that ourselves already. Prepping for me is be prepared to take care of yourself for food, shelter, water, fire, as well as medical. I was on a fire department when I first got out. Since I was on submarines, we take care of ourselves. We don't surface. So if you get sick, you take care of yourself. You cut yourself. You sew yourself up, or the corpsman did. So we learned how to do all that. I do that here. Working with a veterinarian, I learned how to sew up and do some minor surgeries. I've done a minor surgery on myself when a dog bit me, took 8 stitches. If you do it when it's numb, it doesn't hurt as bad. But it's preparing for anything and everything that you possibly can. Looking at your environment, making sure that uh, whatever may come your way, whether it be fire or flood, that you build your land and you build your farm or estate in such a way that you can divert flooding or divert a fire. And that's part of permaculture also, is being prepared. Same way with food, right? Food only lasts so long. So if you have an emergency food, or you store your food in such a way that it will not go bad or it will not be damaged by any of those items, then you're prepared. So prepping is kind of like the old homesteaders did when they first crossed the country. Uh, they were ready because they had nobody else to rely upon other than themselves.
Now, they also didn't have technologies like greenhouses and stuff like that. Do you have a greenhouse?
Oh, absolutely. We have two new greenhouses that we are testing. They're smaller ones, they're only 5 by 10, but they've already withstood 70-mile-an-hour winds. Uh, I joked around. I said, well, we can call them redneck tanning booths, or we can call them greenhouses, whichever one you want. But we're also building a 70-foot by 50-foot greenhouse that we're burying in the ground, 20 feet deep at the north end and down to 4 feet deep at the south end, because the winds are here are very strong and the weather is very cold. So we will be able to grow year round.
So that takes care of your vegetables. What sort of farm animals do you keep?
We're going to have chickens. Right now we don't have any because our greenhouse isn't ready. For our large one, we will have chickens and rabbits, dogs, of course, because we do have cougars and coyotes and other predators that live in this area. I don't, my wife eats meat. I don't. I gave up meat as my heart is healing. So we'll have beef. There are cattle around here. There are bison that we can purchase or trade for vegetables when we do want meat. So mostly it's, for me, it's vegetables, but for my wife, mostly chickens. And the people that come and visit, meat every once in a while. So we have some in the freezer.
So you have a freezer. I guess you have some electricity there to run your freezer anyway, right?
Yes, yeah, it comes right off the grid. Our solar panels work great. We haven't had to run a generator in over a month. Everything's taken care of by wind and sun.
Okay. So your generators are what, gasoline or diesel or?
Yes, we have one of each. We have a small 6 kilowatt gas generator. Then we also purchased a surplus Army hospital generator that will do 50 kilowatts, runs off of diesel. It'll run pretty much anything that we want to power. But our freezer is a small one, and it only takes about 2 or 3 amps the whole time.
How do you cook?
Oh, we can do outside with fire. We are currently using gas, but we're working on creating fuel from wood. There is a way to create gas, right, and charcoal by using wood. And then I won't go into that whole thing right now, but we can talk about that later if you
Well,
wish.
that would be a good subject for an ebook, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and when you write that one, let me know. We'll
Absolutely.
put that one up on the site also. And so
Okay.
right now
Captain.
you're working on a large greenhouse, and you're going to keep chickens in there too.
Yes, we are. Chickens are great in a garden area. They get rid of bugs. They help you with all sorts of things. So, and they give you eggs.
And
Let
they
them
give
roam
you
around.
eggs.
They can.
Yeah,
That's right.
chickens that eat bugs give you these really nice eggs with the dark orange yolks. Good things. Let's see. So we're getting we've actually covered most of the stuff that I had in mind, and we're doing real good on time.
Okay.
We talked about what you're working on right now, and the value you tend to get out of that is going to be sustainable permaculture at your farm. Are you going to sell anything out of
Yes,
there?
absolutely. Have you ever heard of microgreens?
I think you mentioned it. I don't recall exactly what the context was.
Okay. Microgreens, you can use pretty much any vegetables, but you start cutting them like kale, lettuce, beets, broccoli, cauliflower,
Hmm.
uh, lots of herbs, arugula. You can let them grow to a couple inches high, and then you just keep cutting the leaves off. So it's like fresh grown vegetables and herbs every single day. There are restaurants around here that want the healthy microgreens. It's the new thing because we're only a couple hours away from Vail or Breckenridge and some of the fancier resort towns. So we do have people there that are already interested because the way we're growing, it's called bricks food. And bricks means it is complete with vitamins and minerals. It's we have a biological chemical engineer is testing our soil. We're making it complete as much as possible because if you have good nutrition in your body, complete, you tend not to get sick. You live a healthier life. You can live longer and be strong. I mean, that's why my heart is regenerating right now. It continues to regrow and get stronger. I'm probably one of the few people that was supposed to be dead that's living at almost 9,000 feet and happy and healthy.
Yeah, I think I've written some opinion pieces. I probably need to write one for DFW preppers on modern day monocultural farming, which basically resembles strip mining more than it does farming of the type you do. And we don't really even know what we need to put back into the soil. It's gone. So
Yes.
it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting that you would have some science going back into your soil. Uh, now for delivering stuff, are you bundling a bunch of stuff up in your car and going down there, or does somebody come up and pick stuff up?
Well, starting right now, we're bringing the complete trays of the microgreens. You've seen starter trays in nurseries and that sort of thing. So we start our uh, microgreens in that, and then when they come up to the point where they're ready to harvest, we bring those trays to the restaurants or the people's homes, and then they just start cutting them as they need. So we teach them how to keep it healthy, how to keep it growing, how to trim it to keep the growth going, and so they have a constant supply of microgreens until the time where it starts to bolt because it can only stay young for so long, right?
Mm.
Can't keep the baby in diapers all the time.
Okay, well
So it's
let's go ahead and wrap this up with a couple of questions that I'd like to ask. Uh,
okay.
First of all, what is the most important thing to you right now in your life uh, with regard to your situation and so forth? What's the number one thing that you pay attention to?
I pay attention to my relationship with God, our Creator, my wife, family, and those people that come around. Anybody that I can help, that's important. It's amazing the people that come around that you get to meet, that I can trade value with, and the more I found, the more I give, the more I get out of it. I think that's the most important thing. Always be in service.
Hmm. And then the last one, which we had sort of talked about, but it's kind of a fun question. I have a friend who ends all of his podcasts with a question about you know various different things in life, and I thought that was a neat thing. He ends all of his podcasts that way, and I thought about it for a while, and I decided to start with let's suppose that I had a magic time machine,
Hmm.
and that magic time machine could transport you back to when you were 10 years old, and you would get to
Hmm.
talk to the 10-year-old Chris Downs for 90 seconds. And
Hmm.
so you only have 90 seconds. And let's
Okay.
see. I'm gonna time it here. 90 seconds. Go.
Okay. I would tell myself to choose which thoughts I allow to grow into words. because the thoughts are the seeds for living a life of passion and purpose, or a life of wandering and doubt, because I've been there. Need to be impeccable with my words, both to yourself and to others. And don't assume anything. Ask to have clarity. Because if you assume stuff, right, you never know what that person is thinking. Don't know what they've been. So want to do the best you can every day. And remember that freedom is being debt free. Okay? And we're all connected together on this planet. So treat everyone and everything with respect, because we're dependent upon this world. But have fun and enjoy the journey.
Okay.
Because you got to remember.
That's your 90 seconds. You get transported back into the present. Yeah, that's a pretty good wrap up.